All right, should be live. We'll give it a minute to get started. So did you guys get your bread and milk today? Are you gonna hold off
My
till
wife
tomorrow?
went Yeah, we went yesterday. So
We're
French
good.
toast at my house for the next 6 months.
Yeah, we'll
She
see.
said it wasn't. She said it wasn't too crazy. She went yesterday, kind of midday-ish, and said it wasn't too bad yet. But I think that'll change here in the next hour or two. Whenever the warning finally comes out, I think that'll get people moving.
Yeah, and that'll probably be this evening, I would think, once we hit 24 hours. So
probably the 9 o'clock package. So,
Probably
any
right
truth to the
around.
rumor that this web chat is sponsored by Kroger? Any truth to that rumor?
No, none whatsoever, in fact. Although I did buy stock yesterday. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do that. All right. Let's see. I think we'll get started here. Welcome to those who are joining us for the 4 p.m. winter weather discussion. This is Saturday afternoon, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, gentlemen. No romance here allowed on this hangout. But we got a President's Day storm to talk about. Looks like a lot of this is going to be happening during the midnight to midnight time frame on Monday, which will make it President's Day, or as it's been alluded to, Snowbama. Although I'm trying to figure out how sleet can fit in there. Maybe it's Sleetbama. I don't know. Whatever. But we're going to talk about it a little bit here for the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. I know a lot of folks have reservations made this evening, so we don't want to keep anybody too long. But I do want to kind of go through the situation we're looking at. I'm going to do a quick check here of the snow counter on MWN. It looks like it's been 1,165 days since we last had 1 inch of snow in Memphis. Could we break that on tomorrow night into Monday? It's possible, definitely possible. Probably the best chance that we've had since, well, for sure early last March, when it ended up being a lot of rain for some people, a lot of ice for others. But the snow and sleet potential looks pretty good with this. So we will go ahead and get started, and I'm going to get some graphics here to show, and I'll start off by just running through what we're expecting. Oh, before I do that, let me introduce the panelists that we've got on here today. William Churchill, MWN intern, is with us from Starkville, where it should be a tad bit warmer. Good afternoon, William. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And they're monitoring for a little bit of freezing rain maybe Monday morning rather than an all-out ice storm, which was the possibility earlier. But hopefully everything goes okay down there for you guys. Could be between here and there where the big problems lie for this next storm. John Maddox, welcome to another edition of the MWN Hangout.
Thanks for having me. I'm here at the Fayette County Bureau, and I was one of the victims or lucky people, however you look at it, last year on 3 occasions where we sat at 33 or 34 and rain. That big ice storm that kind of got Arlington up through there missed me by about 12 miles last year. So looking forward to some snow and sleet this time instead of freezing rain.
Yeah, a little bit easier to deal with for sure. And welcome back, Daniel Gafford. Been a little while since we've had him on a hangout, but glad to have you back again. Native of Bartlett and weather weenie like the rest of us. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
Good. And how about how are those little Valentine runs you got there with you?
Well, one of them is eating some animal crackers next to me. So the other off screen.
So if we hear gnashing of teeth and crying and wailing, it may not be just because of the snow forecast. It may be you're babysitting there. Parenting, I mean. I'm sorry.
That's right. It's not piped in sound. See, there's the baby right there. She's hoping for snow too.
Be cool to have some snow bunnies and something to play in. Any child under 3 years old in the Memphis area has not gotten to a sled yet, so it's time to give them a chance. All right. Without further ado, let me go ahead and screen share here with some model data. So let's take a look at the scenario. So basically what we've got is an Arctic cold front that's coming through this evening, and that's actually just a couple of hours away. We've enjoyed lower 60s this afternoon. I saw Little Rock made it up, I think, to 72 this afternoon. Just very, very warm air out ahead of this. I will dispel the first myth right away. The day before the 1994 ice storm, it was in the 70s in Memphis. So the warm afternoon doesn't necessarily mean we are out of the woods. It certainly will help maybe just a little bit with the ground temperatures, but this Arctic front is coming through this evening, and I am going to blow this out just a little bit here so that you can get a little better picture. So this is 6 p.m. this evening. There is a little bit of light snow that's moving along the leading edge of this front over towards Middle Tennessee and out over towards the Appalachians, but the front is basically at 6 p.m. diving right through the metro area. These are the red lines, the 32, and blue lines, 35. So temperatures are going to fall pretty quickly this evening. If you are headed out tonight, take your coat with you, even though it's 60 right now, because when you come out of that dinner reservation or wherever you're going, a movie or whatever, it is going to be much colder. The wind is going to be blowing very hard from the north. We're looking at gusts maybe up to 30, 35 miles an hour as this Arctic cold air pours into the area. By tomorrow morning, you see the freezing line is down in southern Mississippi, southern Alabama. We're expecting a low tonight here in Memphis around 20. Wind chill digits in the single digit, or wind chills in the single digit range for most of the metro. Northern parts of the area, Tipton County and north, could see sub-zero wind chills, and there is a wind chill advisory out for those areas from 3 to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. As we go through the day tomorrow, we're going to stay cold. It looks like skies will become cloudy during especially during the afternoon hours. Looking for a high temperature tomorrow in Memphis of 31. Northeast winds around 10 to 15 miles an hour, so those wind chills are going to stay down around 20 throughout the day tomorrow. And that basically sets the stage as precip moves in tomorrow night. We've got low pressure out here over West Texas tomorrow. This is noon tomorrow, and that is basically going to track to the east and go by to our south. This is 6 p.m., and it's going to start to organize out here. You see the precip organizing out ahead of it over the southern plains. In our area by 6 tomorrow, I think we're still dry. A little bit of a snow area up in Missouri, and that's going to start to move southeast as well, but we're mainly watching this precip over to our west. And as I move this out a little bit farther, this is midnight tomorrow night, and we're seeing that low basically starting to eject across the southern plains into the lower Mississippi Valley. That's the track it's going to take, which is a favorable track for winter weather for us. We are going to be on the cold side of that system. Cold air in place. You see the freezing line is to our south. We got snow up to the north, and it looks like by midnight, somewhere around midnight, we should start to see wintry precipitation in the area. Now, the orange that's on here is sleet, the blue is snow, the pink is freezing rain. Now, the reason that even though we are below freezing, and we'll probably be around 29, 30 degrees, something like that around midnight, the reason it's sleet and not snow is because we have a little bit of an elevated warm layer above the surface. And so what that does is basically between maybe about 3,000 and 6,000 feet or so, the temperatures are above freezing. And when that happens, then you get precipitation that falls, melting as it comes through that layer, and then refreezing as it gets into the sub-freezing layer down near the surface. And that melting and refreezing results in the snow changing to sleet. And so I think sleet might be our initial precipitation type, especially with the dry air that we're seeing near the surface. And that also tends to promote sleet. So as that moves in then, looks like we may get into a scenario where we've got some sleet falling. I'm going to zoom this in just a little bit closer here as we get closer in time. So that's a midnight. This is 6 a.m. Monday morning, and we have just a whole wintry mess basically right over the entire area. You see the dividing line between freezing rain, sleet, snow is right over the metro according to this model. This is the GFS model, and I do think that it's fairly representative of what we could expect. So I think the heaviest precipitation was probably going to be from the wee hours of the morning on Monday morning into the mid-morning hours, so maybe in the 3 to 9 a.m. time frame. 6 a.m. is right smack in the middle of it. It looks like mostly snow up to our north. Our friends up in Tipton County and points north of there could initially start as sleet, but I think that changes over to snow pretty quickly as the atmosphere moistens up. Right here in the I-40 corridor around Memphis, I think a lot of this might stay sleet. We should get some snow mixing in with that as well. It probably is going to be kind of back and forth where it goes from sleet to snow, but my main concern is that this could be in the form of ice and sleet rather than just all snow. And then to the south, we have a little bit warmer air down to the south aloft. It is below freezing at the surface, though, and so they're looking at more of a freezing rain scenario, and that is for the areas from, say, southern Tunica County, Tate, Marshall counties, and points south of that. So basically south of the I-40 corridor, looking at freezing rain. As we go a little bit further, this is noon. See, the bulk of this is moving off to the east. Low pressure is moving by over North Mississippi, so it's warm rain there. We're transitioning from basically a wintry mix back to snow as this low departs to the east. That warm layer aloft is going to mix out as cooler air comes in behind the low, and we should transition over to light snow, probably ending sometime during the early afternoon on Monday. And then, as you can see, during the afternoon on Monday, that is precip between noon and 6 p.m. That has shifted off to the east, and then it looks like it stays off to the east after that. So that is kind of the timing of it. I want to let's see. Let's stay with this one right here, and I want to take a look. This is from the Weather Prediction Center of NOAA, and look at the 24-hour period ending 6 p.m. Tuesday. This is the probability of 2 inches of snow, and I'll zoom in over the Memphis area. The blues in here are basically 50% or above, 50% or below down to the south, so we have a pretty good probability of seeing 2 inches of snow. Up here to the north, it's even higher than that. Here's the 4-inch snow probabilities. Not quite as high here. We're looking at 10, 20, 30% in the metro for 4 inches. So I don't think it's going to be quite that high, but you see we don't have to go too far north before those probabilities of even 4 inches get up there pretty good. So I think overall for the metro, again, we're looking like we could be seeing the snow and sleet moving in after midnight on Sunday night, lasting through the morning hours Monday. My totals right now that I'm expecting in the Memphis area, right along the I-40 corridor, somewhere in the 2 to 4 inch range of snow and sleet mix. Now that could change based on the ratio of snow to sleet. So the more snow we have, we're looking at probably the higher end of that. The more sleet that we get, it'll probably be closer to the low end because the sleet doesn't accumulate as quickly as the snow does. Points to the south, we're looking at the possibility of more freezing rain mixed in with that, and if you're up in Tipton County and places north of that, I think it's going to be more snow, and they could see totals that are up there more than 4 inches. In fact, I'm going to screen share one more time here. Let me put this Weather Service graphic up, and then we'll talk about this a little bit. So here is a Weather Service graphic that was put out this afternoon here in Memphis. This is what they're calling for the areas as they're shaded here. So up north of the metro, north of Tipton County, they're calling for 3 to 6 inches of snow, locally up to 8 inches. Wow, that would be impressive. Right along the I-40 corridor, including a good part of the metro north of the Tennessee-Mississippi state line, 2 to 4 inches of snow, ½ inch to 1 inch of sleet. So that's pretty much in line with what I was thinking, 2 to 5 inches total. But they're leaning a little bit more heavily on the snow here. If that were to be more sleet, maybe up closer to 1 inch of sleet, then I think that 4 inch might be a little bit high for what we could see. And then for our North Mississippi counties, 1/4 inch of ice, and that's freezing rain. So that is something definitely to think about there, is especially as we get into the Monday morning time frame. That freezing rain is the type that accumulates on the power lines and the trees and so forth. So that is more of an issue, especially for travel and for potential power outages and so forth across North Mississippi. And then only 1 to 2 inches of snow in that area. So more of an icy mix rather than a snow-sleet mix. So that's what we're kind of looking at, and I'm going to kind of open it up to the panelists here and ask for some of your thoughts on what you're thinking and any questions that might be coming in already. So I'll open it up, guys. We have the youngster chiming in already. John, you got anything?
Yeah, I think it's important for folks to remember that, much like usually happens around here, this may be a case where, we're joking last year, Nick Helms with Mid-South Chasers had a full-blown ice storm, and Nick is probably 12, 13 miles from me. So your neighbor that that's 10 miles from you may get something completely different than you get, and it could be a situation where it snows for a couple hours, sleets for a few hours, snows, sleets at the same time where, so you got to be prepared for all the particular hazards or all the possibilities, because I think it'll change back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Any
Yeah,
other guys?
a track of
No, go ahead.
track of about 30 miles, north or south with the low pressure. 30 miles north, when we're more sleet, freeze, and rain. 30 miles south, it's snow. So it's still up in the air as to what's going to actually happen, even 24 hours out, basically.
Yeah, William, I know you've been looking at the model some with me as well, and it's been a dynamic situation for the last 24 to 36 hours. Every time a new model comes in, we get a little bit different solution, and they seem to come in line, and then all of a sudden they make a right turn again. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it keeps going back and forth a little bit, and as of now, it looks like there's maybe more chance of sleet, especially on the onset Monday night. I think it'll definitely at least begin as sleet, and then start changing over towards morning. But just like John said, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back and forth between a snow, sleet, or even mix of the two all day during the day Monday. So.
Yeah, and there's nothing to say that we won't see another slight shift in the models as well. Although I think as we get a little bit closer here, we should start to see everything kind of coalesce into a more general opinion that's the same across those, which lends to higher confidence, of course, by the forecasters as well. But as I've said, there's nothing harder in the South, I don't think, than forecasting winter weather, and there's just so many variables that come into it. We always seem to be right on the dividing line. But this is one where I feel at least fairly confident at this point in saying I don't think that we're going to see 33 and rain all the way through this. We are already going to be cold. Tomorrow, I don't think we're going to get to 33 for a high. Temperatures, will be in the 25 to 30 range. So I don't think that we're going to be looking up Monday morning and go, dang, it was 33 all night and we got a bunch of rain. I think something different's going to happen with this one.
Hey,
Yeah, I have a feeling
Eric,
that'll be happening in Starkville this time.
That's what I was going to say. I think William might be the lucky recipient. Hey, can you give people maybe, you talked about the low tracking across North Mississippi. What several people ask me is, well, like, what is a perfect scenario? Like, what are some towns that would be near where a low track would be a perfect scenario for snow for us? Like, are we talking Grenada, maybe down towards Jackson? What kind of general
Yeah, well,
area?
this one is basically right through central Mississippi, and you can see we're on the line between the ice and the snow. The snow more likely being 30 to 40 miles to our north. But there's a track there that's pretty favorable. But I've got to say also it has to do with the degree of the cold air and the push of cold air coming in on the north side of it as well. So sometimes you have a dividing line between rain and snow that's maybe 25, 50 miles across. Sometimes you get a 200-mile swath of ice, just because you get enough of the warm air pushing in from the Gulf at that mid-levels and the cold air undercutting that. So central to central southern Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi is about 2/3 of the way down the state, I think, is a fairly favorable track. But again, you've got to have all of those components come together. You've got to have the cold air aloft. You've got to get just enough low, a strong enough low to be able to pull that moisture up over the cold air that's riding in at the surface. But yeah, if we start seeing stuff coming out of East Texas going across Louisiana into central Mississippi this time of year, we're watching very closely for how cold that air is coming in from the north and what kind of precip might be associated with it.
And I think this is a little different too for people that usually we're waiting for the cold air to get here and then the moisture, and that just never seems to work out. But this is a case where the cold air is coming in probably in the next couple hours. I think I looked, and Union City's already down to 45 and 43 in Paris. So I think this is a little different situation than usual, where most of the ingredients are going to be in place. So now it's just a matter of, like Daniel said, 30, 40 miles of the track of that low will determine what we get.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about what the impacts might look like given the situation that we've got. And you know, those that are wondering, okay, I've got to go to work on Monday morning. I know there's a lot of folks that are off for the federal holiday, and a lot of schools out as well, although there's a couple districts up here where Daniel and I live, Bartlett, Lakeland, Milling, and Arlington, are all supposed to be in Monday because we had our day off on Friday. But we may be the lucky ones that get a snow day out of this. We'll see what happens. But you know, if we're looking at maybe a couple of inches of snow and definitely some sleet in there as well. I'll say just again, as I mentioned a minute ago, freezing rain is the more likely kind of damaging type of ice that we would get. That's where we usually get the ice storms, is with freezing rain, and that's because it accumulates on the power lines and the trees. So I think North Mississippi, especially south of DeSoto County, I think has the best chance of getting ice that could cause bridges and overpasses to really ice up, to have, you know, the sagging trees a little bit, power lines and so forth. This isn't a full-blown, you know, 1 inch of ice type of event, but they could see a ½ inch of ice, which is certainly going to cause a lot of issues. Now, right here across the I-40 corridor in the metro area, I think if we get an inch of sleet and some snow on top of that, that's really going to cause some issues, I think, on the bridges and overpasses especially. And in fact, if it comes down heavy enough, maybe between those hours of 4 or 5 in the morning at about 9, which unfortunately looks like what rush hour we have might be bullseye for the heaviest precip. Even the secondary streets and so forth are going to see some sleet build up and a little bit of snow on them. So I think it's an issue that we all may have to deal with, from not just bridges and overpasses, but maybe those secondary roads as well. The good thing about sleet and ice is that it does not cause the power outage hazard that freezing rain does, because the sleet is coming down in a frozen type, and so it is not adhering to surfaces. It's just building up like snow does at the surface. That should be a little bit of a relief. But if you got to go in Monday morning, I'm going to say give yourself plenty of extra time, or if you can delay it, maybe to late morning or even lunchtime. I think that's even a better idea if this pans out the way we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think we had I saw a tweet with the WX chat hashtag about the roads being warm today and how that's going to affect it. And I think, you know, the big thing is it's going to be overnight, like we've talked about, and so you have no sun to help warm the roads up. So I would say, you know, at least through mid-morning, the roads are probably going to be in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, and besides not having any sun or even any solar insulation at all during the overnight period, if we've got light traffic on Monday morning, that also is not going to help much either, because without the traffic and the warm tires to melt some of this stuff, it could stick around a little bit longer than it might normally on a regular day as well. And then not to mention the cold air that's coming in behind all of this. So we haven't really talked about that much, but you know, depending on how much we get and how long this stuff sticks around, if we get into Tuesday, which it looks like highs again around freezing, but getting into Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have lows in the teens, and that may be conservative. But right now I'm calling for lows in the teens Wednesday and Thursday morning. We may not get back above freezing until maybe Friday by more than a degree or two. So if we do get some stuff on the grassy surfaces, of course, I think that might have a chance of sticking around for a little bit. We'll have to see. I think I've got a graphic here of the yeah. Let me share this. This is the American Model Ensemble, which basically is the GFS run multiple times, and with slightly different parameters to tweak it. And this is the forecast for the next 16 days. Now, disregard basically the second week of this, but if you look here at the first week or so, obviously 60 today was pretty close. 40 tomorrow is that high is going to occur at midnight. But you see, as we go into Monday and Tuesday, temperatures around freezing for highs. Now this thing really bottoms out. I don't know that we're going to get that cold, but it's got a Thursday morning low of 2. You know, I think again that may be out there a little bit. But to see an ensemble come up with 2, this is not just one model run. This is this model run several times and getting an average, that's fairly impressive. So very cold Arctic air coming in behind this, and we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, the wind chill tomorrow morning especially could be close to zero. I know from Tipton County northward there's a wind chill advisory, so it's gonna be cold and windy in the morning.
Definitely, definitely. To touch on the winter storm watch, that is out for the entire Mid-South right now. I expect that the Weather Service will upgrade that if the latest model data that comes in this afternoon and this evening holds firm. Then we will have winter storm warning criteria being met, and once they hit 24 hours out from the onset of the event, or very close to that, I expect an upgrade to a winter storm warning. So that will probably come this evening, or at the latest during the overnight hours tonight. The winter storm warning criteria vary a little bit by location around the country, but for this part of the country, it's basically a couple of inches of snow or sleet mixed with basically any other type of precipitation. There's several different criteria, but and as a matter of fact, I think I've got those here somewhere. I'll tweet those out in a little bit. But we're looking at the winter storm warning criteria being met. This is not just a light snow winter weather advisory type of thing. So if anybody is watching and does have questions they want us to ask, this is an appropriate time to ask them. Use the WXChat hashtag on Twitter, or you can post them to our Facebook page, and we'll keep an eye on that for the next little bit, and we'll be happy to answer any questions as well. What other comments you guys got?
Yeah, it looks like we have a question on Twitter from Joey Mitchell in regards to how long the snow could stick around afterwards, or any frozen precip afterwards. And so, based on our forecast, we're thinking maybe Wednesday or Thursday even. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I would think that's possible, especially if we get those low temperatures during the overnight hours. I don't think there's going to be much sun around. In fact, until Wednesday, the big trough and kind of second blast of air comes in on Tuesday. We'll probably see some flurries and mostly cloudy skies on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, it gets very cold. I wouldn't be surprised to see some flurries again Wednesday with the cold air around. And actually, those low temperatures we were just looking at from that American Ensemble model, those are also factoring in snow cover. And so if we have some snow or ice cover on the ground, that is going to push those low temperatures down as well, just because you've got very cold air at the surface that's because of the snow that's causing that to happen. So yeah, I don't think the roads are going to be a problem that long, but Monday for sure. Tuesday, if we get the kind of accumulations we're talking about, that's very possible that we could be looking at still some icy surfaces on Tuesday morning as well. Any other questions out there that anybody's got, or if you've got questions, send them in WXChat hashtag. I'll take the opportunity while we're waiting on that to also comment on kind of one of the pet peeves of mine, I guess, and that is to the sharing of snow maps on social media that are simply not representative of what is expected. Taking one model run, and I'll harp on it. In fact, let me pull this up, and I'll just show you an example of why we don't go straight by the models here and push one of those maps out. Let's see, the total snowfall. Here we go. So, for example, you have to really know what you're looking at with these models, and it's very difficult to just take one of these models and share it out and say this is what we're expecting. So this is the same model we were looking at, the GFS model a minute ago that we walked through, and this is the total snow through 72 hours. Now, what this map is showing is 7 to 8 to 9 inches across northern Mississippi. This is not representative of actual snowfall totals, and so if you see a map like this posted out there, first of all, is it coming from a reliable source? Do they have information to back it up that shows the knowledge of the situation? In this case, basically what the model does is it takes ice and multiplies it by 10 and puts it in there as snow. And so what you're seeing there is instead of 9 inches of snow is most likely a little bit of snow and maybe 3/4 of an inch of ice. And 3/4 of an inch of ice is times 10 is 7.5 inches of snow, and so that is what that model is showing. You have to dig further into this. You have to understand what you're looking at, and so this is something that is just a pet peeve. And folks that don't know what they're looking at are seeing these maps and sharing them and calling for doom and gloom, and then wondering why we bust our forecast afterwards. Well, this graphic says that we're going to get 8 inches of snow, and it never snows here. We don't ever get that much. Well, you're right. That's not representative of what's expected. So before anybody takes any screenshots of that and starts sharing it on social media, I'm going to get rid of it. But you have to really know what you're doing with those, and find that trusted source. Find somebody who gives you this situation without hype, without providing the drama, and just tells it straight. We try to do our best at that, and hopefully that helps to explain some of that. Are there any other questions or thoughts out there from anybody? Did we lose John, or is he still there?
No, I'm still here. I was pulling up a. Let me share something real quick if I can remember how to do this. This is just a reminder. It's always a good reminder of if you do have to get out and travel, good things to have in the car. Things like a blanket, flashlight, batteries, first aid kit, water, non-perishable foods, a knife, jumper cables. Make sure that you today or tomorrow during the day is a good time to go fill up the gas tank. Make sure you have plenty of gas. Little kitty litter in the car never hurt anybody. Help you get traction on icy roads. So just these are some good things to the actually NWS Birmingham shared this. It's always good to have that kind of thing, especially here in the South. We probably remember what happened last year in Atlanta and Birmingham, where I don't think we'll have anything quite like that, but the horror stories of people taking 18 and 20 hours to get home. Because what happened is, as we talked earlier about the streets, the tires melting the snow and ice, and then what happened was it was so cold outside that everything just kind of instantly refroze. So just keep those sorts of things in the car. They're good to have anyway. Most of those apply anytime that it's good information to have, and make sure you keep those things.
Yeah, very good idea, especially when you know that the scenario is possible, that it's coming up. It's a good time to go ahead and get that stuff in there. I found the winter weather definitions for winter storm warnings, and I thought I'd go ahead and just share this as well. I know a lot of people are interested in when we're going to be getting the warnings versus advisories and so forth, and I'm not seeing it on my possibility of sharing here. Where is it? There it is. All right, so this is from NWS Memphis watch warning definitions, and they use in the winter. There's for winter weather, there's a combination of different types of watch warning advisories and everything, but basically they will enter or issue a winter storm watch, and I'm going to go down here for everywhere except well to our north, and the criteria they're looking at is basically a snow accumulation of 3 inches or more in 12 hours or 4 inches or more in 24 hours. And also, down here at the bottom, for ice only 1/4 of an inch, that would be freezing rain, 1/4 of an inch, sleet 1/2 an inch, or combination of them, 2 inches of snow with any accumulations of sleet and or ice. And so when they issue the winter storm watch, basically they think that there's a fairly good confidence in some combination of this or one of these criteria being met, and that is when they issue the watch. Now, they have also noted that basically about 50% of their winter storm watches get upgraded to winter storm warnings, meaning as it gets closer in time, within 24 hours of that event, they still expect that to happen. Now, there are the other 50% of the times it may be borderline with one of these situations, and as it gets closer, maybe the event backs off. It doesn't look like it's going to be quite as bad, and so if it's going to be less than those amount of criteria that are listed, then they will use a winter weather advisory, which basically means that travel may be impacted, take a little extra time, but it's not of the situation where travel, commerce, and everything could be significantly impacted in the case of a warning. So that is what we're looking at here in Memphis. Now, obviously, those aren't the same criteria as they have in Minneapolis. 3 inches of snow up there does not get a winter storm warning, but down here, any amount like that is enough to really cause significant problems. Have we had any other questions or anything come in that we can answer? Do you guys have any any other thoughts that you want to entertain here before we go?
And just watch what happens in Little Rock tomorrow afternoon, because that usually will be a good indication of what happens here.
Yep, good idea, and that'll be coming in there by tomorrow evening at the latest, looks like. So, yeah, watch west, don't watch north.
The weather baby thinks it's going to snow.
Weather baby, cool. We have the mascot. Awesome, John. Any additional thoughts?
No, just everybody needs to be prepared for multiple, we talked during severe weather about multiple modes of severe weather. This isn't a situation where you need to be prepared for anything from freezing rain to sleet, snow, and don't focus on, oh, well, Eric said it was going to be 2 to 5 inches and I only got 1.5 inches at my house. Well, anything over about 1/2 inch of snow or sleet around here pretty much causes the same level of headache. So don't focus on exact amounts and just, be prepared. We've got 24, 36 hours probably before the onset of the heaviest precip. So now's the time just to be prepared and everybody be safe. Spring will be here soon.
Yeah, it looks like the groundhog is right, huh? Even though it was because these television cameras that were on him that caused the shadow. William, any closing thoughts?
I was just going to throw out there that it's kind of convenient that the storm is on a holiday, so hopefully most people will be home and there will be less issues. So, just take it seriously. And I see a lot of people that just are saying, oh, it's not going to snow just because it hasn't recently, and that's just not how it works. So just be prepared.
Yeah, the law of averages has to come in here at some point, I think. We have a 30-year climatological history that's used for our average snow, and we haven't hit that in several years. And so, yeah, the average may be dropping a little bit, but at some point, we're not gonna have 30 years of nothing. So we've gone 3 years here, right here in the metro, since the last good snow. So again, hopefully it is snow. I hope that we end up with that 2 to 4 inches of snow, that the sleet is minimal, that everybody can get out Monday morning and really enjoy it. Although I can promise you there's a few hills around here that if there's an inch of sleet on it, it's going to be great sledding. So I hope you enjoy it. Certainly be safe. Take your time wherever you're headed, starting early Monday morning, and we'll see how it goes. We'll continue to keep you updated. Follow us on Twitter at MemphisWeather1. Follow us on Facebook, MemphisWeather.net. We'll post the latest as we continue to go through the weekend. All of the Weather Service watches and mornings and so forth we'll keep you updated with as well. They are the official source, and so we do not try and overstep that. But certainly have some opinions to share as well. We've got some experience in the area. So that's pretty much it. I do want to close with one additional thing, and that is, despite the winter weather, Severe Weather Awareness Week starts tomorrow. And so we have severe weather of a different form, but starting tomorrow and going all week, Tennessee Severe Weather Awareness Week will be going on. The Weather Service and MemphisWeather.net will be sharing safety tips and so forth, a different topic each day. As we've done in the past, we will have a lot of information, a lot of education, and a lot of great giveaways. So we will start with some free iPhone apps for the MemphisWeather.net iPhone apps tomorrow as we talk about Skywarn storm spotters. The topic Monday is flooding and flash flooding, and one of our partners again this year is Take Cover Storm Shelters. They'll be giving away a weather radio on Monday. For Tuesday, lightning is the topic, and we'll have some giveaways for that as well. Wednesday's a pretty big day. The statewide tornado drill will be Wednesday morning at 9:30. Can we imagine that with maybe a little snow and ice still on the ground? We're having a tornado drill Wednesday morning at 9:30. And also Wednesday night, invite you to tune in. If you like getting information in this type of format, there'll be another hangout that the Weather Service in Memphis, Morristown in East Tennessee, and Nashville, as well as the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and some others will be doing 6:30 Wednesday night. We'll send that information out, but you can follow Weather Service Memphis for that. They will be doing a live session, probably about an hour and a half long, with all the different parties talking about severe weather preparedness. We will be a part of that as well. In fact, I think that I'll be on that. So make sure you check that out. Thursday, severe thunderstorms is the topic, and another one of our partners, Mid-South Storm Chasers, alluded to a little earlier, Nick Helms and his group are partnering with us again this year, and they will be giving away on Thursday a ride along on a local storm chase. They're going to be taking somebody out the next time that we don't have winter weather to go out and chase with them. So if you got a hankering to do that, make sure that you follow us this week and follow Mid-South Storm Chasers. They'll have the information on how they can how you can win that. And then Friday, we will conclude the week with some information on weather radio and other alerting type systems, including the Stormwatch Plus app and Stormwatch Plus severe weather notifications in your MemphisWeather.net app. Make sure that you've got that already purchased as well. And on Friday, the big giveaway of the week, Take Cover Storm Shelters will once again be giving away an underground storm shelter on Friday. So be looking for all of that information this week. We'll be tweeting and posting on Facebook where you can go to make sure you're signed up and get that. But a big week for us and a big week to make sure everybody is ready as we head towards the spring season. So hope that you'll continue to follow along during the week as well. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and close out. If there aren't any other questions or anything coming in, we will close this out. Everybody be safe, stay warm, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Have a good day.